Watch this.
He has sent state troopers, and now he has sent himself. Idaho's Governor Brad Little explains his recent trip to Texas to see what's happening at our southern border. A lot of books have been removed from a few libraries across Idaho, believing they were harmful to minors. Even in Ada County, where the community library, trying to be within the law, actually broke it. We'll explain. The Gem State hasn't quite earned a reputation as being a destination for foodies, but we're heading that way with the state's first ever James Beard Award winner. We spent some time with the best chef in the Mountain West.
This is completely unacceptable. Biden's inaction has spawned a growing drug threat to our state, and the vast majority of illicit drugs in Idaho are now sourced in Mexico. Idaho families deserve better.
That's Governor Brad Little in his 2022 State of the State address, making it very clear he was making drug overdoses in Idaho a major priority for him and his office. Why? Well, fentanyl, that's why. According to the Department of Health and Welfare, fentanyl was involved in 21% of overdose deaths in Idaho in 2020. The next year, it doubled to 43%. 43% of drug overdoses were related to fentanyl that year. So this year, Little decided to head to the border himself, our country's southern border, to see about the source of that fentanyl firsthand. He took some Idaho State police with him to learn how to stop it from coming, or at least controlling it as it comes across the border a little bit better. But was it necessary to travel that nearly 2,000 miles for a photo op? He told Joe Paris it's about more than that.
My job is to keep Idahoans safe, and they can't be safe if there's wholesale distribution of fentanyl. We're getting better at identifying it, how they hide it, how they transport it, but it is a lot of it's coming through Idaho.
Idaho Governor Brad Little recently traveled to the Texas-Mexico border as a part of his campaign to fight the flow of fentanyl into Idaho. Governor Little joined 9 other governors in the Lone Star State to meet with Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Little saw firsthand the situation at the border. And to boil it down very simply, governors like Little see fentanyl, oftentimes in pill form, coming into their state and killing people.
The fentanyl in particular, the fact that 1/100th of this business card is a lethal dose, and out of those pills, 6 out of 10 of those pills are lethal in nature. And that's the main driver. The legislature's keenly aware of it. They appropriated money for a new interdiction team at the state police. They knew that I'm doing this. This process with, we get help from Texas, but I think that cost us, the exercise the last few weeks was $60,000 or $70,000. But they learn a lot. When I talked to one of them Monday at Coeur d'Alene that had come back, and they said having that firsthand experience with these real experts is very helpful for our teams. Operation Esto Perpetua will bring together law enforcement and communities in new ways.
In his 2022 State of the State address, Governor Little launched a campaign to fight the influx of fentanyl and meth into Idaho. Esto Perpetua, or Forever Enduring, is the name. Through public education, community investments, and action like his trip to Texas, Governor Little has made it a mission to try and save lives. Lives that he says are being lost across Idaho because of the potent narcotic.
I've seen the billboards around Idaho about fentanyl overdoses, and they usually picture young people, say this person had overdosed very tragically. Do you think about those billboards and the Idahoans that we've lost when you're down at the border?
I do, and we were pretty methodical about how do you do that message. There have been a lot of state and national drug programs that didn't have the credibility. We wanted to make sure that everything we said was 100% credible, and we are seeing that kids, their parents, teachers are understanding the magnitude of it. Because when we first started doing Esto Perpetua, so many of these parents said, I had no idea. I didn't know what fentanyl was. I didn't know that it was delivered in these pills. So that's why it's so important now. In totality, we need comprehensive immigration reform to address this problem. It's just it is systemic all along our border. And then what really the bad guys want is chaos on the border. So Department of Public Safety can't do their job, Border Patrol can't do their job. We don't have enough judges to adjudicate all of this. Chaos helps the bad guys. Organized legal immigration is in the benefit of the American people.
So it's a very nuanced problem, which makes it very hard to deal with, especially from Idaho. The more chaos at the border, the more easier it is for criminals to get their business done. And you can see the impacts in Idaho are very real. And the campaign Fentanyl Takes All really highlights how different Idahoans tragically lost their lives because of fentanyl. And Little and state police leaders, Brian, they're set to actually go over together and have a formal meeting, go over what they've learned. There was 2 different teams that went down to Texas from the state police. One was about drug interdiction. One was about really tactical stuff going on down there, how to identify it. When you think about the Treasure Valley, you know, we know that we've had stories about fentanyl down here, but up in Coeur d'Alene and really the corridor of Washington to Oregon, that's been an issue as well, and something that the governor's office is keeping an eye on. And changing topics very quickly, Brian, before I end up our report. Yesterday on the 208, we talked about a situation with the AG's office and how they were analyzing an initiative petition. We had told you yesterday we were expecting to talk with the AG's office today. Long story short for you, we are going to circle back with them in about a week or so, because they're going to wait for the petition to be officially filed before they start commenting on it. But Brian, I just wanted to, in terms of transparency, people that were expecting to see the AG story today, we're going to circle back soon.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll check back in with them. One other thing from yesterday we wanted to clarify. We were talking about Idaho Falls Public Library putting in place a new card policy for kids, breaking them down into 2 categories. Parents could either sign their child up for a restricted library card, which allows children to check out materials only from the kids section on the first floor, or they could sign up for an unrestricted card, which would allow them access to everything in the library except graphic adult novels or movies. And most of you thought it was a great policy. We talked about this. We talked about why they decided to do this as a response to what they saw happening at the legislature this last session, when lawmakers tried to give parents the right to sue if their kid checked out something from a library they felt was inappropriate or harmful. A vast majority of the books and materials lawmakers believed was harmful and being given to kids had to do with LGBTQ plus themes, by the way. And at the end of that discussion yesterday, we talked about how there were several schools and libraries who took it upon themselves to take a lot of these books off their shelves, or maybe put them behind the counter. Places like the Nampa School District, the Kuna School District. And in our discussion, we mentioned the Ada Community Library. Back in March, they'd voted to remove 6 books from their shelves. And while that is true, those books weren't actually removed. A few minutes after we had that discussion here on the 208, we got an email from the director of the Ada Community Library, Mary DeWalt. We'd asked her earlier in the day about this vote that took place back in March, and she apologized for her late response yesterday. But she also said the board did not remove any books because that vote in March apparently violated the public meeting law. Here's what happened. Back in February, the board updated their selecting and discarding material policy, adding 1 line to the controversial materials section. Materials selected for the collection shall comply with Idaho law, including those statutes on obscenity, as well as those defining what is harmful to minors. That's the 1 line they added. And they did this, according to DeWalt, because they felt they weren't aligned with what is already written in Idaho code, which is this. Title 18, Chapter 15, Section 14, has to do with children and vulnerable adults, and disseminating harmful material to minors, which is basically defined as anything that describes, in whatever form, nudity, sexual conduct, that kind of stuff, which could be considered as encouraging an interest in or is considered offensive to prevailing adult standards. So they added that line. They felt like they were in line with the law. Then came the March 21st board meeting, and they decided to test out that new policy. They wanted to make sure staff understood the guidelines, and they wanted to see if it would fall outside the state statute. They did this using a list of the 10 most challenged books of 2021, according to the American Library Association. Those books are listed here, and you can see from the titles and what we know of the descriptions, half of them have to do with LGBTQ themes, from genderqueer to lawn boy to all boys aren't blue to this book is gay. There were others, sure, with characters of color, like The Hate You Give, or The Bluest Eye and Out of Darkness, because of complaints about those being sexually explicit. Of these 10 books, using their new adopted policy of not violating Idaho's harmful to minors code, the Ada Community Library Board decided 6 of them would put them in a violation. So they decided, instead of just, talking about it, let's vote about it. Let's vote whether they should be removed. So they did, voting to remove genderqueer, lawn boy, All Boys Aren't Blue, Out of Darkness, The Bluest Eye, and This Book is Gay. Took them out of all 4 of their libraries, or decided they were going to, but they didn't. But they decided on this because they contained some questionable sexual content. They announced this decision kind of vaguely in their March meeting minutes, way down at the bottom. They kind of said that, except shortly after they decided to do that, after that vote, they realized, well, we can't do that, because any vote in any public board meeting has to be listed as an action item on their agenda. And that vote on the books wasn't listed as such. The Ada Community Library Board was in violation of Idaho's open meetings law. So they put out a statement saying their vote was null and void, and the books they voted on and discussed will remain on their shelves. Mary DeWalt, the director of the Ada Community Library, told us today this updated policy for selecting and discarding books is supposed to be used for prospective books, not the ones currently in their collection. So to clarify, the Ada Community Library did vote to remove 6 books from their 4 libraries, but that vote was illegal, so the books will stay. And we're told there's not been any indication they will vote on such books again. As for CUNA and Nampa, well, as far as we know, those books remain restricted or removed. You know, loss is part of being human. Death comes to us all, and we have ways to cope with it. With funerals, memorials, celebrations of life. But what about those who leave this world without leaving anyone behind? No next of kin, or they were just abandoned. Every year, the Ada County Coroner's Office, Ada County Sheriff's Office, and Cloverdale Funeral Home work together to put on a Remembered with Compassion ceremony to remember those in our community who may have otherwise been forgotten. Photojournalist Paul Belke takes us to the Terrace Lawns Memorial Garden Cemetery.
We're here for the ceremony of Remembered with Compassion. It's for the interment of those that have been forgotten or abandoned. And so we'd like to respectfully put them to rest.
To ensure that no life, no death, no passing from here to the beyond is unseen or unacknowledged, we carry their names.
Unknown Daryl Taylor or Christopher Robin Crosswell.
Donna Copeland.
James Miller.
It's a somber thought to me to think about someone passing away without having anybody to remember them.
Cynthia Milliken.
Ralph Lytle.
It's important because as human beings, we should all be laid to rest with respect. You know, it doesn't matter who you are, what you've done in your life.
Clifford Kaler.
Rebecca Pierce.
Father, into your hands we commend these children of yours.
Many of these folks are just forgotten, or the family can't afford the services like a burial. You know, whatever it is, we try very hard to provide that service and to identify these folks and give them that chance of lasting peace with respect and dignity.
The remains of all those who are lost in these ceremonies are placed in the Terrace Lawns Memorial Gardens for anyone to visit.
And the winner is Chris Kamori. Ken.
This is so major. You guys, all the feels.
And also just like such a moment for Boise, which really such a food scene. Really, wow. This is incredible.
And as Chris makes his way to the stage there, yeah, it's really a food scene in Boise. At least it's getting there. And two of our local chefs are getting noticed for that, qualifying as finalists for the James Beard Award. In this case, to name the best chef in the Mountain West, which includes Colorado, Montana, Utah, and Wyoming. And as you just saw, Ken's Chris Kamori took home the gold, and he's the first to do that in Idaho history. He spent some time today with Andrew Bartline.
At first, you miss it, rolling up Main, strolling down 9th, until walking in.
Yep, and we can pop back there.
Ken. It's a community kitchen.
You know, like,
cultivated.
We wouldn't have it any other way.
Through Chris Kamori,
Sauté.
commanding the brigade.
Correct. And the ones we just got in,
without much of a command.
We
at all.
Take what we do seriously, but we don't take ourselves very seriously.
Here, they take each other seriously.
Nail the risotto.
For Ken, it's the kinship.
This award is for everyone within this community.
Because the best chef in the Mountain West didn't even remember where he left his award, or any of the others, if he still has them.
We kind of have an ongoing joke that our white elephant parties for our holiday parties here, it's just like any award that I've won, or like my college diploma.
They're the breadcrumbs. Kamori's more interested in the journey.
You know, I was like 17 and started washing dishes just to help pay bills and pay off student loan and things like that. So that's how I got into it.
The people, that's how he stayed, including his business partner, Ramey McManus.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great journey. We've been together, a lot of us, for 10 years.
Different businesses, different locations, different styles.
They haven't been put up.
The same people.
This has just been, you know, a long journey to get to this point.
And at a certain point, we just said, or at least I kind of made the switch and said, you know, if we're going to go out of business, if this isn't going to work, then we might as well just do it the way we want to do it and not necessarily worry about catering to an audience that we don't actually know what they want.
Authentically themselves.
So we were just true to ourselves, and as that progressed, we started to develop our own style of food.
That's the winning recipe. Through 4 previous nominations, Kamori had it the whole time.
Our patrons, it's our farms, you know, it's the wine purveyors, it's everyone is involved in this. It's pretty humbling to know that, you know, to be first of anything, I guess.
The James Beard Awards have been given out since 1991. While Kamori is lighthearted about the award, he doesn't expect this one to find its way into a white elephant exchange come the holidays. And make no mistake, he and his whole team at Ken say they're very honored for this award. And Kamori was joking with me as well, Brian, saying that I'm just thinking of a way to have fun if we go up there and lose to somebody from somewhere else. And then his business partner, Ramey, said, absolutely not. We're here to win.
We're here for business.
Exactly. They kind of had differing perspectives on it, but it certainly worked out for them. They took it home. First time for Idaho.
Ken's not a big place. It's not an easy place to get into. I feel like going to Ken tonight. I can only imagine this is going to increase the demand for people to go to his restaurant.
Yeah, they said sometimes, 2-3 months out, people are waiting to get in there.
Yeah.
There is a bar there, though. I didn't know that when I was there.
Yeah.
It's actually where I talked with Kamori's in that bar. So that might be a place where you can stop by and just check it out. But other than that, yeah, definitely a high demand type location.
And certainly a unique experience, something I would love to take part in, I should say.
Let me know when you're free in a couple months.
Let's make a date. All right,
okay,
Andrew.
I'm there.
A couple months from now. All right, thanks, Andrew.
Just absolutely breathtaking. Excuse me, what some of you were able to capture yesterday, videos and pictures. It was just phenomenal and intense. The storm that rolled through yesterday. By the time it was all said and done in Boise, look at this number. Albertson Stadium picked up nearly 2 inches of rain. That was kind of the bullseye, right over downtown Boise. That flooding happened. The connector was shut down for a time. Officially, our number for Boise for precipitation totals from yesterday will be 0.56 inches. And you can see elsewhere across the city of Trees anywhere from about 2/3 of an inch or more. Right now, this is what is happening. This is our sky cam on top of our KTVB station right here. It has been shaking around. It looks pretty still right now, but you can see those ominous clouds that have developed not long ago, maybe 45 minutes ago. We were at 87 degrees. We've dropped down to 74 as that storm rolls in, and 26-mile-per-hour sustained winds. So here's the storm right now. It is just crossing I-84. You see the lightning strikes. The rain doesn't look quite as torrential as yesterday's storm, but still it's been rolling in from the northeast towards the southwest. So it may just skirt by Canyon County, but I wouldn't count on it. I wanted to take a live look outside at the view from Nampa. Look at that dark sky. This is on top of the St. Luke's building at the Garrity interchange. Looking out towards the east, you cannot see the mountains. That sky is ominous, and it looks like if it holds together, it will be a pretty significant storm as far as the lightning goes and the wind speeds. But again, rain at this point doesn't look to be quite as intense as yesterday. But still, if you have outdoor plans in the next hour or two, I would maybe hedge your bets and just stay indoors until the storm is over and done with. So all of this activity being fed still by this area of low pressure that is circulating warm, moist air our direction. It will continue to drift north in the coming days. So tomorrow, not as much sunshine available. We'll have mostly cloudy skies. So I think storm chances are lower tomorrow. But look at our Friday morning in the Treasure Valley. Looks pretty likely that we will see some storms popping in. Decent rain amounts possible. And then temperatures will cool heading into the weekend with highs of 78 by Friday.
All right, final moments of the show. Let's get to your comments, like this one sent in by Christine in Meridian. Governor Little seems quite knowledgeable regarding fentanyl, so why does it take a trip to Texas to find anything more? Waste of tax dollars, I believe. This one from Judy in Boise. How about traveling to Utah to understand their Narcan program, which has greatly reduced overdose deaths? Yeah, they just kind of give those away for free in Utah. Worth exploring a little bit more about that. Why do people want to use fentanyl, asked Susan. Not necessarily they want to. Sometimes it just ends up in their opioids. You know, it's there, I guess, illegally, and that's why they have an overdose. They don't know that it's there. Wasn't this a show that stated fentanyl was safe with that expert guest a few weeks ago? At least Governor Little is trying. Well, there it goes. And there we go. Not sure if we're still on the air, but there is a big storm system overhead right now. All right, well, that might be it. We'll see you at 6. Be careful.